Hello everybody, today is March 6th, 2023, Rust Belt Perspective here, and today we are going to be taking a look at the 2024 presidential election between, potential rematch between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, predicting it. Now, Donald Trump has already declared in November after the midterms that he does intend to run again for president in 2024 for the third straight time, despite his loss in 2020. Joe Biden has not formally declared that he is running, but all signs point towards him running, and right now, these are the two presumed frontrunners for their respective party. While, yes, both have some unpopularity within their own party, Donald Trump's name is the biggest, and Republicans would have to unify behind one candidate to beat him in a primary, which so far there has been no signs of them doing that. Whereas Joe Biden, while there is some backlash on him within his own party, incumbent presidents almost always get renomination with ease. So I'd have to imagine right now this is the most likely election we're going to see in 2024, a rematch between Trump and Biden. And with that, both candidates, of course, with their parties have their safe seats, safe states they would win in 2020 or 2024, excuse me. A lot of the same states that they did win comfortably in 2020, they would win again in 2024. For the Republicans, I see them with 107 safe votes. Actually, make that 118. I forgot. 122. I forgot about a couple states over there. But yep. The Democrats also have their share of safe states as well in a rematch between Trump and Biden. You can pretty much go down the line here. This is a territory they always win big in, and they also get Hawaii. So with that, the Democrats have a pretty decent head start on the Republicans with their safe states, a 42-point electoral vote lead. But there are a lot more competitive states, as we're going to get into this, but we'll start out with some of the likely states for both sides. We'll start out with Colorado and New Mexico. They were last won by the Republicans in 2004 by President Bush, but since then they have far and away been Democratic states at almost any level, and I don't see that changing here in 2024. Joe Biden was able to win these states by New Mexico by 10, Colorado by 13 in 2020, and I don't see why he should have any trouble winning them again. Virginia, I will also say, is a likely Democratic state. It's been a Democratic state at heart, much like Colorado and New Mexico has not gone red since 2004. And yes, Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin did win there in 2021 and is popular there in Virginia. I don't think the state would flip or even come close to flipping. It could be competitive, which is why I have it at likely, but overall it should be a pretty comfortable victory for Biden in this scenario. And I also forgot, Illinois is another safe state for the Democrats. Can't believe I forgot that one. It's been a safe state for them since 1992. No need to talk about it too much. So yeah, I think that's it for the likely Democratic states for this exercise, but the Republicans, luckily for them, also have their share of likely states. We'll start out with Texas. It has gone Republican every election cycle in recent memory, and yes, the Democrats have been able to make it a lighter shade of blue, or lighter shade of red, excuse me, being more competitive there recently, but they have not been able to quite break it, and Donald Trump still won the state by 5 points despite his immense unpopularity coming into the election. So I am confident that this should be a little bit of a competitive state, but still a Republican comfortable victory here. I'm also going to characterize Florida as a likely Republican state. Yes, Donald Trump only won the state by 3.4 points in 2020, but if you remember, from 2016 to 2020, almost every state in the country shifted blue. Florida was one of the only ones that went further red than they did in 2016, going, I think it was 2.4 points more than 2016. And besides, Republican Governor Ron DeSantis, very popular there in Florida. He can definitely get some Republicans to the polls. Him and Marco Rubio, the Republican senator, just won there big. it's going to be very difficult for the disorganized Democrats in Florida to prevail there. So then, also likely for the Republicans is Alaska. It's been a Republican stronghold, much like Texas, for every election cycle in recent memory, but the Democrats are starting to get better there. They recently won the House at-large seat for the first time in over 5 decades, I believe. And they are making waves there, but overall, it's a Republican state at heart, and I believe that the Republicans should win with relative ease, even if the Democrats are competitive there. Next 2 states I'm going to characterize are likely Republican are Iowa and Ohio. Yes, they are states that voted for Obama in both 2008 and 2012, but they have shifted very much red since then, especially for Donald Trump in his previous 2 bids. In 2020, despite Trump's immense unpopularity, Trump won Ohio by 8 points, as well as Iowa by 8.2. These 2 states have voted pretty similarly in these past several election cycles, and I don't think that'll change here. So there is one more likely state for the Democrats I forgot about, and that's going to be New Hampshire. Biden won it by 7 points in 2020, and while the Republicans have been competitive here, they have not been able to win on the presidential scale here since 2000. And you just watched New Hampshire in the 2022 midterms re-elected Democratic Senator Maggie Hassan by, I believe, 9 points it was. This state is getting less and less competitive and a lot more liberal and democratic. I think that Joe Biden should win here with relative ease. So that's going to be it for the likely states. So now we really getting into it. It's interesting here because we're really close with electoral votes, and we get into some of the most competitive races that were competitive in 2020 and are looking to be competitive again in 2024. We'll start out small with a couple of districts here. Maine's 2nd district I'm going to characterize as a lean Republican district. Donald Trump was able to flip this district big time in 2016, and he maintained that into 2020, winning it by 7.4 points. That being said, this district also did represent a Democratic representative, so it's not like this is a far and away Republican district by any means, but it has been won by Donald Trump twice comfortably, and I think he could do it again. Conversely, with Nebraska's 2nd district, I think that is a lean Democratic district. Biden was able to win it by 6.6 points, even after Donald Trump won it by, I believe, 2 points in 2016. Biden shifted this district immensely, and now that Joe Biden does have some unpopularity to his name, now that he's been president, that makes things interesting here. I think the Democrats will still win, though. And now I think is a good time to look at Joe Biden's popularity rating throughout his presidency. Right now, he has a net disapproval rating of 8.3 points. He has been disapproved of since August of 2021, so it's been quite a while since he has been on the right side of this chart. So his unpopularity could definitely play a factor into 2024. Something he did not have in 2020, does have now. Could be a good thing for the Republicans, but also you have to remember Donald Trump isn't exactly a super popular figure either. So do they cancel out? Does it help the Republicans? I don't know, but it's something to keep in mind as we characterize some of the most competitive states of this election here between Trump and Biden. So we're going to start with the lean states first. I'm going to characterize Minnesota as a lean Democratic state. Biden won it by 7 points in 2020, and I think Biden would be able to win it again. It just might not be quite as much by 7 points because, as we see, Biden does have some unpopularity in nationwide with disapproval rating of 8.3. But that being said, Minnesota has gone blue in almost every election cycle in recent memory. I think the last time it went red was in 1972 when the whole nation almost voted for Richard Nixon. So with that, the Democrats hold on, but it is competitive. Trump was, I think, just a couple of points away from cracking the state in 2016, but still, I think lean Democratic is the right way to characterize it in a matchup between these two. Also, lean Democratic, I'm going to say Georgia and Arizona. These are 2 states that voted for Trump in 2016, and were once Republican strongholds, but ever since Trump took over the Republican Party, it has really shifted away from Trump. And in 2020, both these states very narrowly went to Joe Biden. He won Arizona by 0.31 points and won Georgia by just 0.24. So it really would not take much for the Republicans to take these states back. But as you saw in the 2022 midterms, both states elected Democratic senators statewide, re-elected I should say, and the states continue to seem to be shifting more and more blue, which does not bode well for the Republicans. So with that, I think they'll win these two, as well as Nevada. I'm also going to characterize as lean Democratic. The last time it went red was in 2004, and that's also the last time that you saw states like Colorado, New Mexico, and Virginia go red. Nevada has voted with those three states every single time, and they just re-elected Democratic Senator Catherine Cortez Masto. As the Democrats continue to seem to win this swing state statewide in almost every cycle. Looking at 2020, 2018, 2016, I think maybe even 2014. I can't remember if they won there or not in 2014. But point is, Democrats always find a way to win in Nevada. I think they'll do it again this time. Now for the Republicans, I'm going to say North Carolina, lean Republican. Trump only won the state by 1.3 points in 2020. However, looking at it from the big picture, this state seems to, while it's always competitive, it never seems to leave the Republicans' hands on the national level. Like you saw in the 2022 midterms, Ted Budd, the Republican, won the U.S. Senate race. It was a wide open state with their former senator retiring. And even in 2020, Senator Tillis won re-election despite the fact that this seat usually always flops back and forth, and also despite the fact that the national mood was very much against Republicans at that time. And Trump still won when the national mood was very much against him. So with some of the pressure off of him and more of it on the Democrats, I think the Republicans will be able to hold on to North Carolina. So now, this is where it gets interesting. Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I just made a video yesterday about why these three states are crucial coming into the election, and we see it right here. I'm going to link that video in the description. I recommend checking it out if you have not seen it already. But right now, between Trump and Biden, I will start out with the state of Pennsylvania. I'm going to characterize it as a lean Democratic state. The most recent time there was a poll between Trump and Biden was just before the November midterms, in which they tied in that poll. The thing is, Democratic Senator John Fetterman, he ended up winning that election by 5 points when his polls were almost tying with his Republican challenger Mehmet Oz. It goes to show that Pennsylvania seems to be leaning more Democratic now. They may be kind of over Trump, even though Trump did take the state by storm in 2016, along with Michigan and Wisconsin, to win the election before Biden took them back in 2020. I think that Pennsylvania will stick to the Democratic. It will absolutely be competitive, and I could be wrong here, but right now I think Pennsylvania will narrowly stick with the Democrats. Same can be said about Michigan. Democrats have been comfortably winning in Michigan for a lot of the recent election cycles until Trump showed up, when he very narrowly, by like 0.2 points I think, took Michigan, just for it to go back to Biden by 2.8 points in 2020. And you just saw Gretchen Whitmer, the Democratic governor of Michigan, just got reelected comfortably. This state has voted blue a lot more often than not in these past election cycles, and I think it will remain as such in a rematch between Trump and Biden. Last one we'll get to is Wisconsin. I think it's a little more iffy. I'm going to say it's a tilt Democratic state. Joe Biden only won the state by 0.63 in 2020, even though the poll said he was supposed to win by I think 6 or 7 points. Trump outperformed those polls big time, just to still only very narrowly lose. And Republican Senator Ron Johnson did narrowly win re-election in 2022. So this state has gone either way both times, but overall the state seems to always narrowly be won by Democrats. You know, Obama would win it. Bush lost it both times. Bill Clinton won it both times. It almost always goes Democratic, and while it is absolutely competitive, I think the Democrats hang on to Wisconsin. So with that, we had a map here that very closely mirrors the 2020 map and a rematch between these two, and I think that that's accurate. I have every state voting the same way they did in 2020 with this one, but some of the shades are a little bit different. Would you have states such as Georgia and Arizona going more firmly for the Democrats this time around? As partisanship continues to grow in this country, I just think that a lot of the states are happy where they were at in 2020 and will continue to move in those directions. And people really don't feel that much differently about Trump than they did in 2020. And Biden, yes, he is unpopular, but a lot of the states that voted against Trump in 2020, I believe, would do so again in 2024, and vice versa. So with that, thank you very much for watching, everybody. I plan to make a lot more election videos in the near future. Please like and subscribe to see more. This is Rust Belt Perspective, signing out.